YouTube says it has had enough of vaccine misinformation on its site.
And false stories from phony sites to run circles around major news outlets.
Many people don't know the difference between something real and something created to deceive them.
Open your eyes.
If you've ever had this feeling that something was terribly wrong with the world that we live in, but you couldn't figure out just what it was, then you've come to the right place. Secret societies, mystery religions, and the Illuminati have been controlling our reality since the beginning of time. But not anymore, because there is an awakening happening, and you are about to become a part of it. Wake up, because this is a call for an uprising.
This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. I just wanted to show everybody a couple of these articles that are out there that really just prove how responsible big tech is for all of the problems going on in the world. Now, we know that obviously there's a lot of mental health problems going on, a lot of depression, a lot of psychosis is happening because of social media, whether it's young teenagers on there becoming depressed because of other people's social media accounts or bullying and those types of things. Social media has obviously led to nothing more than narcissist syndrome in our society. But I think what we need to focus on is some of the things surrounding technology and surrounding big tech. And of course, when I talk about big tech, we're talking about DARPA, because all of these characters, as I've mentioned before, are all the frontmen for DARPA, from Mark Zuckerberg to Elon Musk to Jeff Bezos. This is the illusion that you're purchasing these products from corporations using your free will versus what's really going on. But in disguise is obviously this is the government who wants this technology in your home, who wants surveillance inside of your home, inside of your your vehicle. Everywhere you go, they want surveillance. And they know if they sell it to you that way, that the people would rise up against it. So they use these corporations to obviously trick you into thinking that you're purchasing these things because you want these things, because you need these things, because everybody out there has these things. And of course, it's just a massive psychological op where we've been told over time, if you don't have a phone, you're not on Facebook, oh, there's something wrong with you. This is just the new norm. They've used obviously many methods of mind control to get people to do this to themselves, to give up their privacy rights, and of course, to purchase and put all this tech inside of their homes without even realizing that this is really what the Patriot Act was all about. Getting all this technology created and then getting you to participate in buying this technology, but technically they have the right to put these spying devices in your home thanks to the Patriot Act. So there's articles out there over the last couple of weeks that I want to show you that should make people go, yeah, that is a little bit weird, right? Let's start with this one. Stalkers, maniacs, tech bosses spend big on security as threats rise. Rattled tech bros splurge millions boosting their personal security. Tech bosses spend millions more on personal security. Meta spends more guarding Mark Zuckerberg than Apple, Nvidia, Microsoft, Amazon, and Alphabet do for their own CEOs combined. Now, let's start by thinking about why in the world would these people need such massive amounts of security? Are people, going to go down the road and see Mark Zuckerberg and mug him because they know that he's worth billions of dollars, as if they could actually get billions of dollars off him, as if he has billions of dollars in his pocket, as if they could actually get his data and then go and break into Mark Zuckerberg's bank account? We know that these people are fully protected. And if they're tech bros like they claim to be, obviously nobody's going to be able to hack into any of their personal accounts. So the whole notion of them having massive amounts of security, people should say, well, why would these people have massive amounts of security? Does the CEO of Coca-Cola walk down the street with massive amounts of security? Does the CEO of some corporation that, of Chipotle or Taco Bell, do they have millions of dollars invested in personal security? No, they do not. Well, why is it that these tech guys have so much money invested in security? Isn't that interesting, right? And on the flip side of that, why is it that in addition to having massive amounts of security for millions and millions of dollars, which of course really is coming out of our tax money because this is all government agents, and of course government agents are protected by our tax dollars, no different than the Secret Service, et cetera. We pay for all of this stuff. So we're really paying for the personal security of Mark Zuckerberg and Jeff Bezos and Peter Thiel. And speaking of Peter Thiel, Is it a coincidence that these people have millions of dollars in security and people like Peter Thiel, who is a Trump advisor, who we know is one of the founders of Facebook, who I'm going to do deeper dives on Peter Thiel for people out there that don't know his connection to Opus Dei and Stanford Jesuit secret societies. But is it a coincidence that Peter Thiel, the billionaire venture capitalist, has led Silicon Valley's elite to buy doomsday bunkers in New Zealand? So let me get this straight. All these guys who censor free speech, who do this in the name of, well, we don't want misinformation spreading about vaccines and about weather modification and about Satanism and the occult. They all have billions of dollars. They spend millions of dollars to protect themselves because apparently if Mark Zuckerberg's walking down the street, people are so angry they want to jump him and attack him as if it's Donald Trump or Joe Biden or something along those lines. And on top of that, they're all building doomsday bunkers in New Zealand. And not just in New Zealand. We know Zuckerberg has his underground bunker in Hawaii. At least this is what they tell us. Obviously, whatever they tell us, we take with a grain of salt in regards to where these locations actually are. I mean, I believe fully that these people plan on going to Antarctica, somewhere that none of us obviously can go, where we know that they have their Antarctic treaty, where all the countries just happen to have peace in Antarctica, right? They all have a stake in Antarctica, of all places, because, of course, we know why that is. But that's where I believe that they all will likely be going. But nonetheless, Mark Zuckerberg, we know, has these underground bunkers because there's been reports of him building these underground bunkers. We just don't know if they're actually located where they claim that they're located. So they all have underground bunkers. They all have millions of dollars in security. Do you think maybe some people out there would say, why would these people, are they, they're the ones who are saying that people like us are tinfoil hat wearers, that we're talking about the end times and we're talking about, the arrival of the Antichrist. Isn't it interesting that people, even like Peter Thiel, are talking about the arrival of the Antichrist and the coming totalitarian system, right? If you're familiar with Peter Thiel, and again, somebody posted in the forum about this recently, and I'll go into more detail about it. Peter Thiel's been talking about the Antichrist for quite some time and the beast system. Because Peter Thiel is one of the people setting up the actual beast system along with all of these big tech guys. Isn't that interesting? So when they tell you that people like me can't talk about the coming of the Antichrist, can't talk to you about the beast system, can't talk to you about Palantir and what they're actually building out in the surveillance state and all that other stuff, it's interesting that we're all censored, but they could go out there and talk about it, of course, because they're going to mislead you and pretend to be Christian and pretend to be supporters of Trump and be by his side, or even though they are supporters of Trump, they're all supporters of one another, right? They could all talk about those things, but people like me and you cannot, because we can't actually expose them for who they are. They have to control the narrative so that if you're investing in, research, if you're researching and you're interested in things like the coming of the Antichrist, the end times, the beast system, well, you have to get your information from who they say you can get it from, because they want to make sure that you're not hearing information about how they're the ones setting up the beast system, how these are the enemies of the state, how these are DARPA employees who are the frontmen for DARPA. Those are the things they don't want you to hear. They want you under the illusion that they're all out there because they're smarter than you. They came up with these ideas. They learned how to code, and then they just became so intelligent that we're so stupid, and they know what's the best for in the best interest of mankind. All these interviews we've heard where people like Peter Thiel have even talked about how they couldn't, influence politicians, so instead they just started to invest in politicians, et cetera, like J.D. Vance and Donald Trump. But the reality of the matter is that's a narrative that they want out there. These are government agents who work with other government agents like Donald Trump, like J.D. Vance, like all these big tech guys who are all buddies with one another. And they're all doing this to bring in the beast system. And they want you to think that it's people like me and you who are crazy for talking about these topics when they talk about it themselves, right? So this article that's out there that I'm going to read you just tries to explain to the masses why these guys are spending so much money on protecting themselves, why Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg have stalkers. Apparently there's people stalking Mark Zuckerberg. Can you imagine stalking Mark? Does he have people, in love with him? They're daydreaming over Mark Zuckerberg, who isn't even a human. I mean, give me a break. These people don't have stalkers. And when they say maniacs, of course, they want you to think that there's maniacs like me and you who think that they're bringing in the New World Order. So this is what the article actually says. San Francisco, London, large tech groups, including Meta, Alphabet, and NVIDIA, have significantly increased their spending on personal security as tech bosses play an ever more public role in U.S. politics and confront hostility towards corporate executives. The security budgets for the chief executives of 10 big tech companies, analyzed by the Financial Times, rose to more than $45 million in 2024. So now $69 million is what they're spending per year. Alphabet, Amazon, Meta, NVIDIA, and Palantir all increased their protection budget by more than 10% year on year. And of course, they're doing this because they're the ones who are obviously, the government themselves. They see all the data out there. So they see people talking about Palantir. And then, of course, what do? They remove people who are talking about all the things that we all talk about on YouTube, et cetera. And then they're upping their security because they're fearful that there could be a potential uprising against big tech. Once people realize that big tech is responsible for all of the division going on, big tech is responsible for all of the surveillance going on, big tech is building out data centers, and all the data in those data centers is your data, and every conversation and phone call that you've ever had, thanks to the Patriot Act that they've recorded, and they store in these clouds. But they want you to think, of course, that all the stuff that's in these data centers are just the things that you've uploaded, like photos of you at the beach with your friends, right? But the reality is it's personal conversations, personal emails, personal text messages, and everything else. And they build a digital profile on you. And that way, of course, when they start changing the narrative about who the terrorist is and who the threats are, you go onto that certain specific list. And, well, they have everything on you that you could ever possibly imagine, because they have everything you've ever said or thought. Because when you think about the things that you've thought about, well, they know it, because most people upload their consciousness on the internet because they tell everybody how they feel and how they think. And of course, they can always use that to blackmail you and do other things, because that's really the name of the game of how these people actually work. That's how the Freemasons have always worked. They blackmail one another. And that's why part of the rituals in Freemasonry involve them doing things in front of one another that they would never do ever really in their lives. And then they hold it against them as blackmail to make sure that they never reveal the secrets of Freemasonry. So they say security experts say spending and concern around big tech bosses has increased this year after high-profile attacks in the U.S. targeting corporate executives. I've never seen the threat or the concern higher than it is today, said James Hamilton, founder of Hamilton Security, a former FBI agent and ex-vice president of Gavin DeBecker and Associates, which has provided private security for Tesla boss Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos. People are fixating on the leader of a company as the representation of all that is wrong in the world. An outpouring of support online for Luigi Mangione. Of course, that was one of the biggest government ops ever. I mean, it couldn't have been more obvious of what it was, and of course, how the people rallied behind him. That's all done by design, as I've covered in the past. And of course, the fact that they even showed you the footage of him shooting him and then put it on the news immediately. I mean, the whole thing, very, very clear what they're doing here with bringing down the healthcare system to bring in their AI healthcare system. But because of Luigi Mangione, for some reason, Jeff Bezos would have extra security. Wouldn't we look at this and say, well, the mindset now we're seeing with the healthcare system is people aren't getting healthcare. So if Luigi Mangione was let's just pretend that was real. The motive was that Luigi Mangione, supposedly, his mother wasn't able to get provided for the way that she needed to be by a big healthcare company. So he went and he shot the guy, and everybody cheered because, there's so many people out there that can't get coverage. Well, what does Jeff Bezos have to do with it? Selling T-shirts on Amazon and, selling, secondhand cologne or whatever else people buy on Amazon. Nothing. What does it have to do with Mark Zuckerberg? Nothing. What does it have to do with Elon Musk? Nothing. But we're going to use that as the excuse, right? Well, because a big healthcare guy that nobody had ever heard of in a million years, nobody knew who that guy was. As far as we all know, that guy was a John Doe, right? The wife came out the next day and was talking as if nothing. We have 2 kids. And are you emotional at all about your husband being dead, or did they just ship him to Israel? Well, of course, that's where he got sent. He got sent on a nice permanent vacation. He's probably going to help build out the new smart city infrastructure in Gaza, right? So, pretty ridiculous if we're going to compare the CEO of that company to these big tech guys when one doesn't have anything to do with the other. They've built this hostility towards, the healthcare industry, but you don't hear any hostility out there towards big tech at all, other than people like me who yell and scream about censorship, right? But let's be real. The alt-right isn't censored. The other people out there aren't censored. Show me people who are really censored, other than myself and a few other channels that we know of that have been censored on YouTube, right? I mean, you want to think, Alex Jones is censored. Is he really? Is he really? He's on, Joe Rogan's show. He's promoted on Twitter. Oh, because he censored off YouTube. He left YouTube because they did that to bring everybody over to garbage platforms like Rumble and Twitter, because they know that 100% of the population gets their information, or at least goes to YouTube to watch content and watch videos. And, they don't want people over there stumbling upon actual real viewpoints. They want to keep in the hive mind. So anyway, they say one of the things is hostility over data misuse, layoffs, and political roles. The company has received 5 times as many inquiries for risk assessments in the past few months and recorded a remarkable increase in attacks on executives' homes, he added. Tech chiefs are particularly vulnerable because of their fame, as well as public hostility about corporate profits, layoffs, data misuse, and their increasing political role since the 2024 presidential election campaign. The tech sector had the biggest increase in companies implementing security measures for executives, with a 73.5% jump in those receiving the benefits from 2020 and 2024. So let me just get this straight here. So people are upset. Can anybody out there tell me anyone who's upset over data misuse? 99.9% of these people don't even know what that means with their data, nor these data centers. So does anyone out there know somebody who's like, I hate Mark Zuckerberg, I hate what he's doing with my data? No. Nobody stumbled upon anybody that's saying that. Maybe us here, well, we know, that they buy and sell our data and stuff, and that's not even our main concern at this point with everything else that's going on with the surveillance state that's being built out, with the digital profiles, with, the Gotham operation that's going to come forward with pre-crime, et cetera. I mean, at least my concern at this point is my personal data, because once you put it in the internet, it's theirs anyway. But at this point, they could track and monitor everything. So I don't know if that's accurate, because clearly it's not, right? Layoffs, people, I'm really upset because Mark Zuckerberg laid off half of his company. No, the only people that are actually feeling pushback right now is Palantir. And it's actually worked the opposite way, because the conservatives should be anti-Palantir. They should be saying, we need, this has got to go. This is the surveillance state. This is everything that we're against. This is going to be pre-crime, right? Everything I've shown you of Palantir, everything you know of Palantir, every conservative should be concerned about. They're yoked directly up with Donald Trump. So who's pushing back against Palantir? Who is showing up outside of Palantir headquarters protesting? Well, liberals are, because of the whole Palestine-Israel thing, right? So actually, the ones who are completely asleep to the New World Order are actually more awake than the conservatives, who should already know this stuff, because most of them know of globalism, right? It's insane. We're in the upside down. But those people are actually, aware of Karp, because Karp has become, even though he's like the least known of all these guys, right? Everybody knows, Peter Thiel might not be the biggest household name, but everyone knows Musk, Zuckerberg, Bezos, Gates, those guys. Very, very clear. Karp is becoming more known because he's so ridiculous on the microphone. When he does these interviews, he's literally saying things like, I showed you the clip of the woman talking about how Palantir is murdering people in Palestine, right? She's saying, yelling, you're murdering my people, you're murdering people. And he's just like, yeah, that's fine. Everyone's going, well, wait, there's many babies are getting murdered. And he didn't even, he's so soulless, he doesn't even blink at it. So that got around in liberal circles. So people are like, screw this guy's the worst. But none of those liberal people would ever have the balls to confront, Alex Karp, other than going outside of his, his office building and holding up signs. These people are not threatened. There's no threats anymore in society. Nobody's going to ever go after these actual people with the way the world is now. Everybody's been weakened. Everybody's afraid to do anything because they know that they'll spend the rest of their life in prison, even if they go up to these people and, tell them off, right? Tell them off. Oh, that's bullying. That's assault. That's 10 years, right? So these people obviously only have security because if the masses out there figure out what they're doing, if everybody out there figures out, wait a minute, they've built this entire infrastructure, but they haven't. All this stuff, Facebook, right? Which goes back to LifeLog, as I mentioned, and Amazon, and all this stuff, all these websites, all this stuff with Tesla. This stuff all goes back to the government. They created all this stuff at DARPA. And wait a minute, all these guys are related to, Bezos' grandfather, one of the founders of DARPA. Bezos' grandfather, one of the founders of technocracy, right? Very interesting when people figure that part out. And then they say, wait a minute, these guys didn't come up with these ideas. These guys are just standing there because if the government said, hey, we would like to get this technology inside of your home so that we can, this is, I try to explain this. So let me just slow down and explain it. I said it before, just in case anybody doesn't understand what I'm saying here with how this works, right? If, just say hypothetically, you're sitting in your home, you're having breakfast with your family, and you have no technology at all, right? Pre-technology, okay? And there's a knock on the door, and you open the door, and there's a couple guys in a suit, a couple FBI agents in suits, and they said, hey, we're from the government. This is a machine we want to put inside your home. And you could tell it to turn your lights on and lights off. And, well, here, we'd like you to take it and put it in your home. You would shut the door in his face. And on top of that, you probably go to your neighbor and you say, did they come to your home and do this? And your other neighbor, did they come to your home? And everyone would say, yeah. Did you let them put it in? They say, no. Why would I ever let them put that in my home? And then everybody would talk to one another. And they say, you know what? This needs to stop now. Now. What is this? What are they trying to get inside of our home? What is this device? Well, it would never have worked. How would the government ever be able to spy on you? So what they did is they created all these shell companies and they marketed it with mind control, put fancy music behind it, convenience. Oh, your lights could turn on with the Alexa. Ooh, instead of putting in a CD, you could ask Alexa to play Born in the USA by Bruce Springsteen and it'll play it for you, right? Then people started getting it. And Facebook, ooh, we're not going to push it on you, right? What if the government came to your door for Facebook and they said, hey, we got this really, we have this thing, you've heard of the internet, right? Yeah, well, I go on the internet sometimes, right? When Facebook first came out, people weren't big on the internet, but I get some, I go on there now. Instead of reading the paper, I read articles on there. And, sometimes I might do a search or whatever of something if I'm trying to figure, okay, well, we have this new website called Government Log. And you go on there and you type in your email and then you just write stuff that you're thinking about. Well, somebody would say, well, wait a minute. So who am I talking to? Well, you make friends on there, and you're just like, right, but can't I just call them on the phone? And then where's all this going? If it's a government website, then that means like if I'm writing stuff about, if I'm writing like F the government, well, it's going right to the government. I might get in trouble, right? Well, that would never have worked. It wouldn't work unless it was marketed the way it was marketed to everybody. Everybody thought that they were using free will and signing up for this stuff, but they were under mind control. They were tricked. Oh, join Facebook. Ooh, go on Amazon. It's more convenient. Ooh, go here, do that, right? That's how this whole thing has gotten to this point because they use these faces like Zuckerberg and these faces, even though they're pretty ugly mugs, but like Musk, all these weird looking mutants that they throw out there like Bezos. And everybody oh, I like it. I like it. I like it. But if it was the other way around and you saw it was Big Brother standing at your door, knocking and telling you to put these devices in your home, you'd say, no way. I mean, think about where we've gotten to with the Ring. Imagine the government came to your door and said, put this camera on your front door. You'd be like, get the beep off my property right now. And then all the neighbors would get together. Everybody would band together against the government. They'd like, overthrow the government. This is treasonous. They're trying to get this weird stuff in our home so they could listen to what we're talking about in our home, right? I mean, everyone goes back to the old communist propaganda. Ooh, look for the commies. Search for well, think about the government. They've always wanted to look and listen and find and seek down, even though the government themselves are communists, right? So that's the mindset people need to have with this technology because that's what it is. That's what this technology is. This is not technology that these guys came up with and created. This is government tech. And they had to use these shell corporations so that you would bring it into your home. And that's where we are now. And these guys are all protected by massive amounts of security and have bunkers because they're afraid that you're going to figure it out. And that's why people like me are thrown off of public internet platforms, right? And that's why the only place I'm allowed to go is some crap hole like Rumble, where, you don't get views, where, in the algorithm you get promoted. Ooh, you get promoted by thumbs ups. Or we'll put you in the main section if you're talking about Donald Trump and woke crap. Ooh, the Smithsonian, Trump's going after him. Ooh, Cracker Barrel. Pointless nonsense, sure. If you're breaking this stuff down, forget it. We'll stomp on your throat. That's why, I always talk about YouTube because there's a way to get into their algorithm. You get into the partner program, you're in the algorithm. Right? You're in their machine. And then I figured that out a long time ago, how to get through the machine and then to be able to reach new people. That's why I constantly reach new people. Right? A lot of my channels, people are like, oh, this is old. Sometimes a lot of new people, right? And then they're starting to wake up and they're starting to wake up. And that's what they can't have. So they keep you in the hive mind. Go to BitChute, go to Rumble. All right. Speaking of the same people that are already awake, and that's fine and wonderful. I love talking to everybody here on the website. But we need new people in this awakening, right? And that's what they're afraid of most. But these people are all surrounded by massive amounts of security because they fear that people will get the knowledge to wake up to what's going on, and then they'll be the ones targeted. And they're just little cowards who are the face of DARPA. That's all. There's little weaklings, pansy asses. Excuse my French, but I'm on a roll here. That's what they are. So they're just sitting there and they're going, well, we need extra security, extra security, extra security. But people should be going, why do they need security? Who's going to target, people don't like Mark Zuckerberg, but who's going to target Mark Zuckerberg? I mean, if you told me Bill Gates had security, I'd get it. And he does. Because everything but the vaccine, everyone's like, oh, Gates. Okay. If you're like, Bill Gates spends millions, well, it makes sense because everyone hates him. And I mean, they hate him to the point where people could go up to Bill Gates and be like, you told my mom to take a vaccine, my mom's dead, right? Zuckerberg, Sam Altman. Most people don't even know who Sam Altman is, and most people probably don't even know who Zuckerberg really is. If you're younger, you do, but a lot of like older people don't know who he is. So my point being is that these people are surrounding themselves because they're afraid, and they're building underground bunkers because they know obviously what's coming, and it's all coming from whom? It's coming from them. And as I showed you, remember, okay, when we talk about predictive programming, that movie Mountainhead, which I haven't watched, but the trailer sums the whole thing up. And I'll play it for you one more time. This is an HBO movie, Mountainhead, okay? Humanity is in their hands. It's the theme. That's the log line of the movie. This movie is literally showing you how these big tech guys, of course, under the illusion as if all these guys came up with these, companies on their own and they developed this stuff and they're all friends, right? But they admit to you that they're responsible for all the chaos in the world and the moving people around like chess pieces and buying countries and causing chaos and bringing in what they want to bring in. A lot of the stuff obviously comes right out of the mouth of Peter Thiel, who has talked about being able to bring in the type of government that they want to bring in and do the things they want to do, which is authoritarianism. Excuse me, I'm going a little fast here, but take a look at this trailer for Mountainhead and tell me that this doesn't sum up everything that's going on. And again, these are the people who are surrounded by massive amounts of security, who also have underground bunkers in New Zealand and all around the earth right now. Anybody suspicious as to why they would be doing that when they're the ones who censor anybody out there who's talking about the end of the world and the end times?
I hope you rich folks don't mind slumming it in the humble abode of the poorest billionaire in the gang. But this is exactly why I built Mountainhead.
Look at this place, Soups.
Thank you.
No, I just said look at it. No compliment implied. Simply look at it.
Here we go. All right. 4 presidents of tech. Get your net worth. 59. 63 bill. Feels good. 220 bill.
Guys, is this on every channel?
There have been a number of occurrences since your launch.
UN officials are now openly attributing the recent uptick in ethnic tension to powerful new generative AI tools unveiled last week on Tram.
I just want to say this is not on you, Venice.
Obviously, it's not on me. Why would you even say that?
Your platform is inflamed a volatile situation.
Weapon stockpiling, some bank runs.
Violence, chaos, and people are dying.
Not real. Heads don't explode like that.
Heads don't explode like that?
No.
How do heads explode?
We are the smartest men in America. We literally have the resources to take over the world.
This ugly death trap house might have just become humanity's global HQ.
Boom.
The president wants to speak to us.
Guys, we could actually do this.
I can handle Argentina and Paraguay.
We could probably buy Haiti or Belgium, those chocolatey assholes.
This does not look like somebody who should have the keys to America.
The world wants your algorithm to stop being racist and shitty. Are you trying to hurt me?
Things can't get any worse.
This is a terrifying experience, and I don't know that I'll ever recover.
So again, I mean, that's predictive programming at its finest, but they want you to think everything is like this. This picture sums it up. It's one of the pictures that comes up if you search the movie, right? As if it's just a bunch of these dorky guys, and they all are dorks, obviously. Look at them. I mean, they couldn't be, I don't even believe that they're even human, to be honest with you. But anyway, I mean, they want you to think it's like, these dorky guys, and they're all goofy and having a good time and, wearing weird-looking hats, and it's a joke. It's part of the stereotype that they've created. Well, you know what isn't a stereotype? Which is, tell me if it's a coincidence. That the biggest tech guys, let's start with Peter Thiel, is openly gay, packing the fudge, Peter Thiel, right? Remember I talked about Peter Thiel as well. His Gumar, or his boy toy, he had a boy toy who just conveniently fell from a 25-story apartment building, right? Happened to just fall off mysteriously, and end his own life, or whatever they ended up saying. Because, of course, I mean, he had himself an accident, right? It's an old mob hit. Oopsie, slipped on a banana peel. There he goes, Peter Thiel. No trial, no questions asked. Of course not. It's Peter Thiel. Right? I guess he got a little too close to what Peter Thiel was really doing, building this out. Of course, Peter Thiel's connections with a lot of these other pedophiles, because again, there's a connection with the gays and the pedophiles, right? But Peter Thiel's openly gay, so that must be a coincidence. Sam Altman, the guy right next to Donald Trump along with Peter Thiel, also openly gay, right? I mean, there's a connection here, right? How about Alex Karp? Well, he doesn't claim to be gay, but Alex Karp's never been near a woman. So, I mean, we can start saying, look at Alex Karp. I mean, he's, what's his background with religion? Oh, Alex Karp is Khazarian, right? So, well, his preference is children. And we'll move on. Tim Cook, Apple, openly gay, right? Amazing. Now, is there something to that? Well, I mean, I'd like to say Sodom and Gomorrah, right? I mean, God wasn't just upset with these people because they were packing the fudge. I mean, there's probably something about these people. And I say these people because that's what we should just call them. That's not right. That's off, right? I mean, see, I'm mentally depraved, most of them are, with their parades and how they talk with a certain accent. They didn't realize they're under some type of demonic possession. Like, hi, why is your voice changed? Just because you take it up the rear. It makes no sense, right? Well, it makes sense if you understand that these people are completely mentally possessed, really. But the other thing you have to think about is that they put these people too, which I'm sure they're all gay really in politics, but all these people are in these positions of power are gay, so they're demonically evil. But think about how protected they are, right? Because of course, if you go say something or go after Tim Cook or say something or go after Sam Altman or say something after Peter Thiel, well, you're homophobic. And that's hate speech, right? So they're also protected fully, right? Now they can't use that with Karp, but the rest of them they could use it with, right? Oh, don't make fun of Tim Cook. Don't question Tim Cook and Apple using brain-computer interfaces. How dare you do that? That's really homophobic, and you're just doing it because you're transphobic and you're homophobic and you're phobic and phobic. You know what I'm phobic of? I'm phobic of scumbags. That's what I'm phobic of, okay? And I'm not even phobic. I'm not scared of them. I guess phobia is scared. I'm not scared of none of them, okay? But I loathe them, and I know we're not supposed to hate our enemies, but I don't even know if we can consider these our actual enemies. These are demons that we're talking about here. And these people are protected by heavy security because they're hiding something. And they're afraid that when people wake up, they'll realize that they're responsible for all the division, all the problems in the world. And the only censorship going on is the people calling them out and calling out the left-right scam and calling out how we have to remove ourselves from technology if we want to take their power away, because they can only build this new world order, this Tower of Babel reborn through technology. AI governance only works if you're on your phone and you allow them to get rid of cash, and everything is through the internet and everything is through tech, right? Which is another reason you hear all these stories with Biden in power. They're like, one of our goals is to make sure that Wi-Fi and internet is available everywhere, because there can't be an excuse when they say we're going to get rid of cash and you go, well, you don't have the internet. That's not fair. Oh, well, everybody's got it. We're going to make sure you're in the middle of the woods. You can be in the middle of, give me a national park off the top of my head. Yosemite. Right? There's no towers. Oh, we're going to make sure there's towers there. We're going to make sure you can't go off the grid. We're going to make sure with our Starlinks too, we're going to make sure that there's Wi-Fi is always available and free eventually, right? It'll be free for all. And everyone will be like, yay, it's free for all. Not even realize, wait, it's free for all. Oh, it's free for all, because then there's no excuse when they say you got to do this or you're not a part of society, so you can't buy or sell. And if you ever try to go off grid, you can't really, because we're going to make sure that Starlinks are everywhere, so we'll be able to track you everywhere you go. And if you really try to rally the troops, we'll just Waco you. So, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, when you see stories like this, you would hope you could tap a friend on the shoulder and say, you find it suspicious that these guys are all protected by the massive amounts of security that they have? They all have underground bunkers. They're all doomsday bunkers. Right, and then they go, well, they're a little weird. Okay, and then you go, well, how come they're the ones that censor people who are conspiracy theorists who are talking about having doomsday bunkers and survival food and how the end times are here and how global, oh, right, maybe that does make sense, right? The same people censoring all the people out there who are warning about the world's coming to an end and da-da-da-da-da. Right, they're talking pretty much about warning people to get food and prep. Right? Those are the ones they censor, and they're all prepping. And what are they prepping for? What do they know? They're the smartest people in the world, so they must know something's coming, right? Or are they the ones responsible? But technically, they're just the front men, of course. So they're very fearful as the front men. They're probably shivering at night. They're like, what have I got myself into? Is it worth the trillions of dollars? But let's be real. I mean, nobody's really going after any of these people, right? I mean, that's just not happening. Not in the climate of this world. People are afraid to even spit. They made people, because behavioral control, they made people afraid to even spit on somebody else. And it technically is assault. You spit on somebody else in this world. So they really have nothing to be fearful of. But just in the event that there is a mass awakening, the people responsible are protected, but they're not really the people responsible. It's really your own government, because these are all frontmen, again, for DARPA. So I just wanted to do a rant on that. When I saw these articles, I was just laughing. I've covered in the past how they all have bunkers, and Oprah has bunkers, and Tom Cruise has bunkers, and the Kardashians have bunkers, and Kanye's bunkers, and you just go, it's bonkers that people don't say, yeah, why do these people all have these underground bunkers? Oh, well, they're celebrities. They're big tech guys. They're all just a little weird and paranoid. Oh, right. Well, obviously that's not the case. You don't put millions of dollars into underground bunkers unless you know exactly what's coming. And they do, as they continue to use weather modification to move people around and destroy the earth. And then, of course, we know what's coming after that with their smart cities and their full control grid, which Donald Trump has helped building out as we speak with his boy, Peter Thiel and Palantir and everybody else, right? Right in front of you, but MAGA and all the supposed awake people who have become more narcissistic than the LGBTQ+, they're too concerned about the Smithsonian being too much slavery stuff at the Smithsonian. Who cares? It's fake history, all this crap anyway. Oh, and Cracker Barrel changed it. Who cares? Oh, and Target's got who cares? Look at what Donald Trump is doing. Good grief. All these guys are lined up right with him, too. Incredible. I thank everybody for being here. I hope you're all doing well. God bless you and your families as always.